would like to introduce Kimberly Shaw, our speaker today. Kimberly is dialing from Canada. So I'm not sure how many people are joining from the other side of the ocean. You can put in the chat so we know how far we reached today. And Kimberly will be talking about this important aspect of human centricity when introducing and leveraging AI. So we cannot wait to learn your perspective, Kimberly. And on personal note, Kimberly is a dog lover. She is lovely. We met, we have many interests, and we connected online and we start talking. We had few in-time sessions that we had an opportunity to talk. And she also has very similar interests. So how to, whatever it's AI or agile or any form of transformation, how to bring leadership on the journey, how to make sure that any change is actually people focused. Thanks very much. And please welcome Kimberly.
Thank you so much for such a warm welcome, and so happy that you have me here with you today. Before we talk about this important topic that I'm highly biased about, I just want to invite any of you that want to participate lightly. It's very gentle interaction and collaboration in this presentation by scanning the QR code or using the link that's presented on this front screen. Throughout the session, we'll have a little bit of Q&A, as Joanna has mentioned, and we'll also have just a little bit of fun, hopefully, as we go through this important discussion. So as folks are logging on, hopefully, to engage, we are gathered here to talk about important topics, I think, for all of us across any number of practices, that we're practicing together. And this is this idea of, as we deal with any emergent technology, specifically intelligence, right? AI is a big deal and evolving rapidly. How do we actually keep the focus on people? How do we keep people at the center of what we do? And of course, change management by design is focused on that. So we're going to explore some of those aspects about how change management can really enable and support AI success and how we're really designed to be great partners in these kinds of adventures. But a little bit beforehand, yes, I am a dog lover. In addition to that, I've been practicing change and transformation for quite some time. I'm founder and one of the principal consultants at Changify, and we really live, breathe, eat, probably stress over at times, all things change management and transformation, specifically around anything digital, what isn't these days, and of course, anything emergent. We pride ourselves on being really agnostic in our practice. We are a public-private service across any number of verticals, and really what that does is it kind of lends a perspective to us as we're practicing around the similar problems and solutions and challenges and opportunities that all organizations, regardless of what their focuses are dealing with today. So I'm going to move into our actual agenda. What we'll be covering today is all sorts of aspects on the AI change frontier, which is shifting. So we're going to lean into a little bit around the AI imperative, which of course you're very close to. We're going to look at exploring the human element, why change management in particular is needed to support that human-centered approach, guiding technology and emergent technology success. How we look at a little bit of our approach, our learning, our bit of tried and true in terms of applications in practice, and also looking a little bit at you. What things are you thinking about? What questions or queries do you have based upon what we explore today? And as we positioned at the front of our chat here, your insights are welcome throughout this engagement. There is a section for questions and answers, but anything that moves you, feel free to pipe up and pipe in. It's all good. So before we jump into our content, all things intros aside, just a curiosity, just to get our pulling fingers going. On a scale of 1 to 5, how prepared do you feel your organizations are for the people side of AI implementation? And you can see we have some options all the way from not at all. We know we need to change approach, but have no idea where to start. We have some ideas in planning, but as yet untested. We have a good handle on our AI change needs, but we need a little help or a little refinement, or we have got this and we're nailing it. And it looks like the time went through really quickly. So even if you want to jot in the comments, if you're comfortable, how you're rating on there, what this does is it kind of gives us a little bit of an insight as to how closely aligned are our people practices with our technology. And that's an age-old challenge, regardless of what we're implementing. And I can't see comments. I'll pop in as people are poking in.
Yeah, so I can read. So
Okay.
it's 2, 3, 2,
Yeah.
and I'm Don Quixote fighting windmills. Yeah. And
So we're
3.
averaging, yeah. So we need an approach is what I'm hearing, and we need some places with some foundation, some fundamentals to start. And we've got some really good thoughts and ideas about this, but we're untested, we're unpracticed as yet. Is that fair? And just so you know, silence is a resounding yes for me. So I'm going to just accept it and move on. All right. So let's get into some of the discussion here. So where do we start? Well, we start with the assumptions that we make around, AI. And from a change management perspective, it really is, about the promise, the value that's offered, what it is that we're supposed to gain, which is one part of the change equation relative to what it is that we don't know, what the pitfalls may be, what we may need to actually fill in gaps and do work around. So on the one side, the promise is often about we'll be more efficient, we'll be more effective, we'll be able to gain deeper insights and make data-driven decisions better and better. We can be more innovative and potentially even more leading than lagging, more groundbreaking than not. And we can actually gain significant competitive advantage if we're using these tools, if we're being productive, if we're leveraging intelligence in the way that we need to. Then we actually look at the reality, and we'll explore some of these realities in organizations about how they may be positioned or not to be able to actually gainfully take advantage of these promises. So we have some pitfalls, and these are common in change management, and we definitely see these at play when it comes to AI initiatives that we're a part of, and that is we are dealing with employee resistance, and there are a million reasons as to why. We're looking at, implementing, but not necessarily seeing the kind of adoption and wins that we're looking for. Project failure, tricky. We're going to explore what that even means a little bit. I'm a bit of a failure is an opportunity kind of gal. So it's really looking at, how are we actually designing these initiatives to be able to succeed? And then also, how are we soliciting, winning hearts and minds of the workforce, especially when we're at risk of resistance and disengagement or cynicism, which is possible. We also consider in our work the ethical dilemmas. What are the values and principles guiding us, which are hopefully true to any organization, but is it trickling down to our AI initiatives? So really at the heart of all of this, we look at AI initiatives not necessarily failing, but maybe not being conditioned as well for success, not because of capability, but because we have not positioned the human element as well as we could. We could do a better job of doing this to support success going forward. So then what do we do? How do we make this work for people? So how we view it is change management as proactive, as anticipatory, as being able to be structured and designed well enough to prepare, to equip and support individuals that are going through these initiatives, that are embarking on these AI adventures. And this really is designed to promote new ways of working in complementary fashion, if you will, to what's being implemented, whether it's considered a productivity tool, whether it's considered a new data-driven outcome, whatever that may be, that we're looking at success early and often as part of our change design, and that we're actually driving success on behalf of the organization at large, the teams that are directly impacted and utilizing often this technology, and of course, the users that are in receipt of these changes and performing work in new ways. So how we like to encourage people to think about AI is that if it is this powerful, gorgeous, high performance vehicle that we all want to and are curious, hopefully, to drive, some of us not. If we're looking at change, it really is being a driving instructor, helping to navigate, helping people understand the instruments on that panel, and helping to also understand the conditions of the road, how we are going to drive this thing forward and understand the weather that's around us as we implement and be successful partners on these initiatives. So all of these things, and if we are doing them well, should really ensure that the road that we're traveling on invites a smooth, safer, and more successful drive to our destination. So what are we doing specifically? What are some of the activities? Well, ideally, we're hopefully informing AI decisions to begin with. So we're not just necessarily the change layer or the change management piece that is on a plan to deliver AI. It starts a little bit earlier, where we're building awareness and understanding as to why this change, why are we going down this road? Are we articulating specifically what we are doing from the perspective of how it's going to be utilized, what value it's intended to bring, what it looks like should we be successful? And why we work on that to begin with is to be able to demystify, to correct any notions, to challenge assumptions, and to be able to build trust early, because it is a journey. It's not going to be a one-time conversation. It's not a one-time communication. We're going to be informing what is guiding, what the organization has decided, and why they're investing in these initiatives. So what we're looking at are strategic communication plans. Are we actually developing effective planning to address what's changing, why we're changing, helping to build a compelling case for AI upfront so that we can motivate and solicit people forward to the work? And then also when these impacts will be felt, where, by whom, and using various channels in which to communicate so that we have various ways and means to be able to tell the AI story for that particular organization and initiative. We're also very solicitous of having visible leadership, alignment, and sponsorship in front of the work. These decisions are made in spaces and places that are often not on the front lines, that are not holding the budget or the purse strings, and are necessarily needing to be represented in favor of an organizational strategy or a direction, a vision that should be supportive of the AI decision, but also offering ongoing support and sponsorship of the work from top to toe. We also look at targeting messaging and addressing, the what's in it for me. So on the top of it, while we're articulating the why, we're also looking at who cares. So what? Why are, what's in it for me? So we spend some time really from the impacted user groups, those segmented audiences, understanding what the impacts are for them and why they should care, but also at the same time soliciting delegates, representatives, subject matter experts, process owners, to be able to participate with us on the change and be able to collaborate more meaningfully into the application of a tool or the application of a technology and the immersion of the effort within a team. We also look at myth busting. We know there is a ton of myth busting to do in the AI arena, and it is an evolving story. So what we spend a lot of time doing as we articulate the change story is also debunking myths and being able to address concerns actively, to create moving feedback loops, to be able to challenge notions of what AI is going to do or what it is not going to do. And that kind of connects to how we network and solicit members of an organization to be involved, to understand where we have skills requirements, where we need more optimization, where we need to tool and get ready for these changes. So one of the tips that we leave is that transparency, doing all these things is visible, it's open, it's transparent, it builds trust. So we're trying to be honest about the challenges and the benefits while keeping the change story, the why of what we're doing, the heart of the initiative. So if we're enabling AI decisions, then there's a good likelihood that we're equipping the initiative for success. So how do we do that? How do we look at making this change or these changes stick? So we look at comprehensive training programs. We want to design practical, role specific, where possible, hands-on, easily accessible training, learning, development. That isn't just about the ideas of what we're doing, but it's actually about the art of new ways of working. It's about getting involved and getting sticky about working in the tools and technology. So we look at blended learning, traditional kinds of learning, depending upon the organization culture and the way that they learn, as well as online opportunities. Again, the idea being that people can be self-serviced, they have information at their fingertips. If that can be AI supported and generated, all the better. We're looking at blended ways to be able to touch, reach, also give examples in almost in a meta kind of way, use these tools to be able to articulate and manage change while we're changing. The other thing that we do, which I mentioned in the previous slide, is we really spend time looking at what's required in the gap. And it's not just the skills and the tools, the techniques, the learning that's required to be able to take advantage. It's actually of the new tool, new technology. It's also being able to understand that as we are more effective and efficient, what is in the gap? What is available for teams and individuals to be able to perform better? What kinds of work can they be oriented towards that is enhanced and augmented by this work? If we are able to solve certain problems these ways, then what opportunities and innovations are available? How do we redirect teams to be able to not only embrace what's new, but to be able to continuously improve, to collaborate, to optimize what's new as well? So it's not, again, a one-time thing. A lot of people look at change on an initiative and think, well, we'll train and we're done day one and it's over. This really is specifically with AI and other emergent aspects in change, other change trends, really about how do we constantly look at keeping up not only with the technology and tools, with what's available to us as an organization, but how do we empower teams to be capable enough to continuously improve and optimize long after that initiative is done? We look at support systems to support exactly those things. So if this is not a one-time deal and it's a continuous opportunity around capability and change, then how do we build support systems to be able to optimize? So it's about accessibility, again, creating champions within the organization who are AI prone, who are expert, who are SMEs, and who are available and accessible to teams, who can assist peers and empower them beyond the implementation. It's about fostering peer-to-peer learning opportunities and expanding on what we call change networks that exceed the grasp of the initiative and be able to extend the value of the work that we're doing that, frankly, to be quite honest, we're not going to see necessarily instantly on day one. It takes time, and it's part of the story that we're telling. The other thing that we're looking at is making sure that we're redesigning with the implementation. So we're not just shoving or placing, a tool and technology into the organization or into that universe. We're also looking at the opportunities to best integrate. It may not be even on day one, but maybe it's a day 100. Maybe we're looking at ways that the organization needs to necessarily redesign and restructure a bit, specifically around roles, especially if they're being optimized, to look at new structure, new opportunities, new design that actually, in many ways, are part of the wonderful reasons why we're implementing AI to begin with, and why we're building this capacity and capability in organizations. So there are these opportunities. And again, that goes back to the importance of informing the AI decisions and building at the level of the strategy to be able to start building these opportunities and aspects within the change planning itself. Any questions on that tidbit? Again, you're welcome to pipe up. Whoops, I'm going to go back. Okay, so We talked about informing the decisions, creating, a meaningful strategy and approach. We talked about ways of designing the change engagement to day one and beyond. We're also looking now at sustaining. How do we sustain that change? And that really does exceed that day one conversation. So as I mentioned already, launch day is just the beginning. We've done all these great things in change. We're aligned with an initiative to a certain point, a project or initiative sews itself up, calls it a day, wraps itself up and closes. And in many cases, what we're looking at really from a change management standpoint is sustained adoption, what's needed for ongoing reinforcement. And as I mentioned, opportunities for improvement to really start to tap into that value realization and long-term ROI. Things that in many cases, organizations, unless we have those early conversations, are not always thinking about or equipped or aligning with their working strategies anyway. So what we're looking at by way of change activities as we close off and operate in an environment, as we move from build to operate, are ways to reinforce and recognize the good work, build in those champions, have those agents, if you will. We also look at feedback loops, not only during the initiative itself or the work, but also to continue in the environments when we're done, to be able to have clear, accessible channels where we can gain feedback, be responsive, to actually gain insights and opportunities and suggestions. And then ideally, which is what we encourage with our organizations, to respond and act on that input as appropriate. It's also another way to discover and identify add-on or build-on initiatives as well that have value. We look at really good measurement. And again, that starts ideally early and often. How are we measuring adoption? What does it mean? What might it look like? What are the impacts? So we have very common metrics that all good change management initiatives follow. But we want to look at usage. We want to look at efficiencies and effectiveness. We want to look at error reductions, and also satisfaction. So it's not just the process pieces and the ways of working and if we're doing it, it's actually, how are we feeling about it? Are we feeling good? And I'll say here that when we go into this work, it's not always hearts and flowers and rainbows. People are allowed to have perspectives and positions and ideas that may not necessarily be 100% sold on the work. But through these feedback loops and through understanding the organizational decision to do this work and how it supports success meaningfully so that we can make it visible and measurable and monitored and reportable, it gives people a perspective in terms of, okay, I get it. And there are some things that we still have to discover. We're also looking, and that ties into resistance management, which is the next piece, and how we like to be what we call proactive and anticipatory around it. And I want to say here as well that resistance in our world, in our practice, is a lovely, lovely experience. And I mean that truthfully. They're going to tell us the truth. They're going to tell us about the gaps we need to pay attention to. They're going to give us from the ground concerns, rumors, murmurs, myths to debunk, challenges that may be emerging on one part of the organization that we don't have on the other side of the organization. We may have some misunderstandings or clarification to do, back to really good, fluid communications. But in any event, we are embracing any resistance as helpers, contributors, again, truth sayers around the work that we're doing, because they are telling us fundamentally how people are potentially feeling. The last part, and I keep coming back to this and you'll hear it over and over again, is that all of these things are designed to not be a single event. This is about continuous improvement, the idea that we're positioning, even through an initiative, an organization, to be able to sustain, to explore, to try on and stabilize in the new technologies that they are adopting. to be able to embrace this idea of continuous learning. So our hope in doing this work, specifically where it relates to AI, is to be able to thread through, if you will, capabilities that will go beyond the initiative itself as we plan forward, so that we see the value realized through an AI solution and the support systems actually at work. All right, so let's talk about the cost of neglecting change. We talked about a few of these pitfalls at the start of our presentation, but all of this has been about all the things to do, why we would do it, what are we doing? What if we don't do it? So if we neglect the people side of this work, we again risk low user adoption, and that is happening. How many situations are we in where tools are being implemented? They're almost kind of plugged in, and it's interesting for a little while. People are using them, and then they're in a position because it hasn't been embedded properly to be able to let these tools sit unused or not utilized to the degree that they may be intended, probably because some of these questions haven't been asked at the front. We look at delays and cost overruns, and that's common in general where change management is not properly utilized or considered. And that is because we are often dealing with resistance. We do have a lack of preparedness that will lead to poorer delivery, right? Challenges in delivery. So again, that upfront work around supporting AI decisions and really building in really great strategy and support of the work is so important. Negative morale, and this really comes from some of the mythology, some of the debunking, some of the things that people are hearing, reading, seeing, not necessarily, and many times because they're not understanding, and more so specific to what an initiative is it's designed to do. So we already have biases, again, that plays into resistance, where people are wondering, why are we doing this? And again, what's in it for me? Or in this case, what's not in it for me? So that why, that WIFM becomes really important in terms of, again, soliciting individuals early and often through the initiative, but also ensuring that we are regularly channeling feedback to ensure that we are addressing those concerns. And it's part of the wild world we're in, really, as well as we're managing change increasingly with around unknowns and uncertainty. Failure to realize ROI. And a lot of times it's because we're not positioning ROI effectively. So what is a return? What does it look like? And it's not necessarily just, numbers and events. It's also about how people are building capability, how they're feeling as well about an initiative and its outcomes, how they are collaborating. Are we seeing other benefits and other positive opportunities elsewhere in the organization? And then, of course, one of the ones we keep an eye on is, reputational damage. Is there anything that we at risk internally have that is at risk of spilling over? And so are we impacting company culture negatively and any external perceptions, of that? So it all plays into, again, being really thoughtful, careful, and considerate about the human-centered aspects of this very important AI work that we're doing. So other ways that change pays off in support of what we just looked at, we are looking at adoption and proficiency. Sometimes faster is beneficial, not always, but what we want to make sure is that employees are equipped, that they are supported regardless, to be able to become skilled users, that they have increased understanding and comprehension, and that we actually are increasing the value realization for AI decisions and initiatives and environments. We obviously want to reduce, disruption where we can. So smoother transitions, very simply across the board, mean just less loss, and that we actually have less challenges at the level of people. We're looking at sustainment. So we talked about sustainment to be able to stabilize, try on AI, better perform. This is really about integration as well over time to be able to embed AI into daily operations. To me, that is the real success as an ex-operations type myself, is if we are doing these things Will it work, and will people use them, and will we see value for them? How are we, and that's a great ROI there. And are we not just consistently delivering on benefits that we know and are trying to realize, but are we in a position through sustainment to be able to identify others and to be able to, through teams, ideally through the organization, discover new opportunities? That's where the innovations come in. Improved employee engagement and morale goes without saying. If they're included, motivated, solicited, engaged, collaborated, and empowered, they're typically going to be more prone towards the change, even with some resistance, even with questions and curiosities and challenges, but they are usually in it with us to win it. And then, of course, we're maximizing investment overall. And that becomes a really powerful thing to go back to an organization with, is to say, not only has your decision yielded these things within an initiative, but look at these things that we're yielding through sustained activities in the organization moving forward, or at least be prepared for that and build the systems and structures to be able to do it. That's where the payoffs really, truly are. So, what are roles then? If we do these things, we talked a lot about change management and the role of change, but we're not the only change makers in town. We actually have a lot of roles that are invested around these AI journeys that we're all undertaking that are important. So what are those roles? Well, we have leaders. So as we mentioned, we need that leadership to be able to represent not only the decisions and articulate and support the investment, but to be visible, unwavering supporters of the change, and to be able to help sponsor and articulate those compelling reasons why we're doing these things. A Kimberly can do it, but they're not going to care as much as their boss or their manager or the people that they are connected to in the organization, the face of the organization. For managers, that front line is an incredible line of support in any change initiative, but especially for the journeys that we're undertaking in AI, because they are coaches, communicators, they are there as frontline supporters, but they are also owners of outcomes. When we talk about benefits and realization, we talk about improvements, they're typically happening at that level of the business, and then they get reported or trickled up or across the organization. So what we're really looking at is making sure that we have adequately empowered management with their teams to not only be agents and recipients of change, but owners and drivers of it, which is really, really great to see. It's part of that ignition, if you will, in organizations. For project teams, because they are our pals on initiatives, for project teams, especially where we're talking about technology-driven initiatives, it is partnering closely with the projects around their success factors and ensuring that we're highly integrated on our plans and that we are, again, involving them as partners throughout the journey as well. Not interfering, but being partnered supporters of the outcomes and deliverables that we share. And then the last piece is that everyone is a change agent ultimately. And that goes back to how we try to build capability across the initiative, across the organization, where impacted, where led, where managed. And that is ensuring that we are inviting learning, that we want to provide constructive feedback through channels that are sustained, and that we're finding new ways of working, new innovations, new improvements that add value to the work that we do. So a lot of capture post-state in the initiatives. We're going to do a little famous last words, things that I would love for you to leave with. And that is that change is not a single event. It's a continuous journey. It fits nicely and lovingly with AI. So we want to nurture it. We want to embrace the human side of AI change to improve adoption, enablement, and value. We want to always communicate the why the heck we're doing this anyway and use language that is understood, that is clear, and that demonstrates real world benefit for them. What's in it for me? Every individual across any number of roles contribute to the success of AI adoption and utilization. And my question to you is, I would love to invite you, maybe not a question, a call to action, is one specific action that you'll commit to as far as change championing society, the AI aspects and people-centered activities in your organization. Okay, this is our place to ask anything. I know that you have people in comments. I'm going to move here to an area that we have to drop change questions here. We can capture them as well. Totally up to you folks as we close off. We have about 9 minutes left, 10 minutes left.
So we had one question which follow with few comments. So there was a small discussion already happening in the chat. So Kimberly, what do you think is the main difference between AI transformation and any other type of transformation?
That's a really great question. I'm not sure that there is. And what I mean by that is that if we look at transformation in and of itself, and again, this is an opinion, a bias that we have since we stage transformation this way in the practice. Transformation is typically a long, complicated, hairy, messy road, potentially in organizations. It is a number of changes, if you will, typically designed over time, right? Across a series of achievable results, right? To be able to grow and scale to the outcomes that we're hoping to achieve. So if we apply it to AI, similar to what we talked about earlier in this presentation, what we're looking at is ensuring that, again, we understand and are clear about the AI decisions. We're clear about the application to the organizational strategy where warranted. We understand the tactics that support, right, the sort of the short activities and the short wins that support the long. And we're really getting prepared and building that journey over time. I think the key behind AI and a few other trends that we're seeing around what we're calling sort of future of work and change is the speed at which these things are evolving and the kind of capability and skills that we need to ensure organizations, teams need to have in order to respond, adapt, and perform in these changes to the degree of agility that we're seeking.
May I answer a question, or may I give my opinion? I have a long time working with agility and digital transformation. I am certified, so I know what I'm talking about, and I've practiced it, but it's the hard work, like you already said, Angie. Yeah, and when I was starting digital transformation and AI was coming up, I was thinking, how can you combine agile and AI? And I was doing some research. I'm living in Germany; it's a little bit more slower than the rest of the world. And I found out, and I did a course at Coursera from the Vanderbilt University, Jules White, and I noticed that the two courses, digital transformation and AI transformation, the courses were astonishingly the same. I saw so many touch points that was really what I expected something different. And I think the foundation is agility, being brave, being open for change, a different leadership, of course, agile leadership. And this is what I think it's in my opinion, there are three steps: agility, digital, and then enhance the digital transformation with AI to get a deeper insights, data, and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the analytics. Yeah, exactly. The augmentation and the enhancement while being agile. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely agree. And fundamentally, I love the fact that you called out that the problems in many cases are still the same. The responsiveness, right? The flexibility, the being nimble, that matters. Yeah. And that's hard. That's hard. It's hard for some organizations, it's hard for some teams, and frankly, it's hard for some practitioners.
I think a change of mindset and mindset transformation, if I may call it like that. Some leaders just stick on their roles and their positions, and also their boni and their titles. And I think they should change as well. As when I'm a leader, I want to coach my team. I want to enable them. I show them my trust. Enable them to make own decisions. If they're wrong, it's their problem. I will support them, of course, to help them. Yeah, but that's what you enable. And they learn from failure culture. They learn from that. Oh,
Yeah.
this was
I
wrong. What did we? And then I like to analyze with them. Where did the error start? What was your thought? Because for me as a leader, nobody is unique. So I will discover it again in another project. I will discover it. Oh, I have
yeah.
seen that before. Come on, buddy or girl. Let's sit together. I see where you're going. Let's stop that. because I'm an old
Yeah.
man. So yeah, like it's a wrong word, like a daddy, you know. I
Well,
have
I
some good
love it
weeks.
though. I love it because their capability. I love that you called out that leaders, how many of them still stay in their seats while the rest of the world is changing? And so many times, and that's why, I do like the language around transformation, because it's not just about what we're changing today. It's this idea of what we're constantly changing for tomorrow, right? This idea of that futurology perspective. But I love your mention that leaders necessarily need to build new capabilities to support these future organizations that they're so invested in building. Oh, love it. Yeah.
I
And I love
think
the hand holding you're recommending because I think it does get personal, like it's
yes.
direct. Yeah.
I think people, leaders should also say, "Oh, we made a mistake. Sorry, but we're just humans." You know, they get a connection to the people who are uh,
Yeah.
listening to you. It makes you more authentic. I'm not perfect. You are not perfect. We're not perfect. And then communicate with them. We made a failure. Excuse. We find a solution, and do it with the people together. Make a lot of meetings, festivals. Have a success. Let's do a party. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
celebrate the success of the teams and thank them for that. And that's very
Yes.
important because this motivates people, and they also see they're also just humans,
That's
and
right.
that's
We're
very
people.
important.
Yeah, and I
Exactly.
love your reward and recognition call out. This idea that, even the smallest steps require celebration or warrant it. We're not exempt for that. And I think that is the people side of it, no matter, right, how digitalized, how intelligent, right, the work is. So yeah, no, great statements. Absolutely. Did I answer I think we collectively may have answered part of that question in chat, but I can't see it. Are people satisfied with the chat, or is there anything else as we close off?
Hi, Kimberly. I just wanted to comment that we're going through some AI transformational change. We're in our company moving from Microsoft 365 products to Workspace and Agent Space with Google. So Agent Space is a fairly new tool. So the way we're driving that change is as we're communicating, we're using some of the functionality we're learning to use to display to them in our communications. And then we're like, whoever's interested in how we made that, come join us in this, show and tell. So
Yeah,
I would just recommend that it is engaging people quicker because they see an output and then they're like, oh, how did you do that? I don't have to figure it out on my own. So I just thought I'd share that seems to be a
I
good tactic.
love it. The experimentation is there too. And this idea that, it's show and tell. Let me show you. Let me demonstrate. The demystification, right? And this meta piece that we're talking about, it's the art, if you will, right? It's the
Mhm.
performance. I love that. Something you brought to mind in your statement too, which I really enjoy, is that you're leading, right? It's this idea that you're offering the application, if you will, one way of being able to apply the tool or to be able to look at what it can do. And I'd be curious, as you go through this journey, how you're igniting people to even experiment further or what they discover and bring back to you and how that gets mobilized in the work. Love that.
It just as you like as we had our first show and tell, people were like, "Oh, I just tried this. Have you tried it?" And I'm like, so I keep reminding everyone, we're all getting our hands on this tool at the same time. So none of us are experts. So please, like, if someone teaches something and you know something different, don't worry if somebody's mentioned before. Like somebody might have missed that call. Just bring it up and teach us again. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're getting good engagement.
love
It's great.
it. Oh, love it. Can't wait to
I,
hear more
I
about it.
think
Love it.
I think we're all little girls and boys, and we're playing around. And this is funny because we're just
Yeah.
walking into a world which is totally new, and we're just playing around. And this is fun to play. You know what? I
Mhm.
mean it seriously, but it's fun to play and to try around.
Yes,
It
I
is
totally
sometimes.
agree.
Yeah.
No, sorry,
Sorry, I was
Taryn,
going to say,
please.
sometimes you can see the excitement build up. You can picture them like kids sitting on the floor playing Lego together. Like you can just see the creation. It's lovely.
It is, and it's funny that you say that because even, in our conversation today, it is AI supported. It is hopefully a little bit of play as we're exploring what really are serious topics, for organizations. But it doesn't necessarily have to be, right? It's part of that toolkit that we have to be able to, again, build excitement, to ignite imagination, to support curiosity. You mentioned 3 things, Rob, that are important. I would add a 4th. I think curiosity is a big one as well.
Yes.
I
Thank
love
you
how you're
very
igniting
much,
that.
guys, for a very engaging discussion. Actually, I love it. I love the fact that we have this in discussion. It shows the validity of topic, the need for it and excitement around it. So thanks very much for your participation. Thank you very much for participating via chat during the session as well. However, I want to be respectful to everybody's time. So we will be finishing, but feel free again. I give you 30 seconds if you want to drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat, and then you can exchange, you can connect and carry on with the discussion post the meetup. Thanks very much, Kimberly, for your time, for presenting. And yes,
My
Rob?
pleasure.
Will there be a follow-up, or will there be other meetings like this? Because it was exciting.
Very good. Okay, Rob. So compliment to Kimberly. Thanks very much, Kimberly. And
Yes.
Rob, we organize monthly meetup. Every meetup is with different speaker, but feel free to, we would love you to join our future meetups as well. So please keep an eye on our either website or meetup or Eventbrite. And please join, please.
And we also have a conference in Dublin if you fancy a trip.
Well, and Joanna didn't mention, I think, well, she avoided it in the beginning. I was there, and that was part of our ignition. That's how all this lovely conversation started. So, Sharon, compelling, just telling you.
Challenging.
What date is it again?
First of October.
November. Oh, it's October. I thought it was
October,
November.
October. Yeah, first.
I'm not going to say it. I'm going to stop. Okay. All right.
1st of October is just beside the airport. You don't even need to leave the airport.
Yeah, nearly, yes, that's true. And there is a direct bus from the airport as well, so not hard to get.
Okay.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank
We
you,
look forward to
everyone.
seeing you again or hearing from you again, and enjoy the rest of the day or evening.